Alaska, bigger than Texas, California, and Montana combined, full of ice, bears, dogs, and very few people. Sounds like a fun place to live. An even more fun place to win a Darwin Award. In this video, I am introducing you to 10 people who won a Darwin Award in Alaska. If you enjoy other people's stupidity, you have found the perfect channel for you. Leave a thumbs up to ensure you don't win a Darwin. Well, it couldn't hurt your chances, right? Number 10. Adina Dickinson. Everyone knows the dangers that can come with quicksand, but how about mud? In September 1988, Adina and her husband were using an ATV to cross the mudflats near Turnagain when the trailer they were towing got stuck. She hopped off the back to push it out and her legs got caught in the mud. The patch she was stuck in was not light sand, but powdered rock, making it very heavy. Her husband worked for 2 hours and managed to free one leg before the tide started coming in. Emergency rescue was called, and a team worked to free her, but were forced to back off as the water rose around them. Now this may sound like a tragic accident, and it is. However, there are warning signs everywhere about the mudflats as well as the dangerous waters. This newlywed couple decided it would be a great idea to move to Alaska and just start trekking without any experience or guides. Number 9. Richard White. If we haven't already learned from previous stories, animals are to be taken with extreme caution, especially grizzly bears in Alaska's Denali National Park. Richard did not heed these warnings. As a scientist from San Diego, Richard was visiting Alaska and came upon a bear grazing. Normally, when one sees a 600-pound grizzly bear, they would leave the area immediately. Richard decided to start taking pictures of this brilliant beast. For nearly 8 minutes, the bear didn't realize Richard was there and continued foraging. The pictures on his camera, which park rangers discovered later, reveal the last moments before the bear noticed him 40 yards away and charged. Richard liked to escape into the wilderness whenever he could find the time, according to his father. He was an experienced hiker who had been to Denali before and took a bear safety course that is mandatory for all backcountry hikers in the park. It includes instructions on how to avoid disturbing bears and what to do if attacked. Apparently, he was barely paying attention during the course. Number 8. Vernon Connecticut. Vernon and his friends decided to have a grand night by grabbing some drinks and wading about 500 feet to an island in Ship Creek. Their little soiree was slamming, but like all parties, it eventually had to come to an end. For Vernon, it quite literally came to an end. He was attempting to wade back by himself when he fell in the creek. Needless to say, that was his last party. Going forward, I advise anyone to not drink somewhere only accessible by water. In the history of Darwin winners, water and alcohol never end well. Unless you're aiming for a Darwin Award, then it ends great. Number 7. Norman Henry. One Thursday afternoon in June 2004, a friend gave Robert Bush $60 and he decided to buy some beers and go swimming with friends. The group met up at a gravel pit on private property and the fun began. One of the friends was Norman Henry. Apparently Norman had some stinky feet, so Robert told him to wade into the water to wash his feet. I told him, "Jump in the water, your feet stink." He dove in and just never came up. Another friend, Nancy, said she waded in to wash her hair. Henry came up right behind me and dove in. He never came back up. Later that evening, Norman was discovered with his jeans snagged on a hook about 50 yards from where he was last seen. You know the saying, if your friends jump off the bridge, would you? Norman is the one who would jump first. Number 6. Austin Pfeiffer. Moose can be just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than bears. But what about a hungry bear that wants to eat the moose you just got? Austin from Ohio was on a hunting trip to celebrate his 23rd birthday, and lucky him to catch a moose. After field dressing the moose, Austin and his friend returned to camp for the night, knowing that the hunt was over and the work was about to begin. Their first mistake was camping only half a mile away from the downed moose. I don't know how familiar Austin and his partner were with bear dangers, but grizzlies can smell a carcass from at least 4 miles away. The exact happenings after all this are unknown, but from what we can tell, Austin was found at the harvest site. He also had his gun on him, but did not use it. Bears are definitely not to be messed around with, especially when they are hungry and you are standing over their next meal. Number 5. Ryan Stratton. Alaska troopers say people should be careful when mixing water recreation and alcohol. They say people should avoid consuming these beverages while on the water, big shocker here, and always wear a personal flotation device. Also great advice. Ryan, 20, was intoxicated, obviously, when he decided to go out on the Olnes Pond for a quick canoe ride. And it really would be a quick ride. The canoe he was in flipped over, and because he was not wearing a life jacket and was inebriated, he was unable to swim to shore. Number 4. Charles Weimer. 31-year-old Charles flew commercially and was a certified flight instructor. One day he took off on a flight that would be his last. One witness reported seeing the plane make aggressive maneuvers early in the flight and approaching the ridge with its nose pitched up, going into a steep climb before disappearing from view. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, the plane was over its weight limit for takeoff on what was supposed to be a 15 to 20-minute personal sightseeing flight. Charles would have realized this had he not been drinking before takeoff. One of the passengers, also the owner of the plane, even texted a friend before the flight saying that Charles had been drinking prior to the flight. Yet he said nothing to Charles himself and let Charles fly the plane. Another witness said they saw the airplane flying parallel to a ridge. The airplane then disappeared from view, and then they saw a plume of black smoke. According to toxicology reports, Charles had a blood alcohol level 6 times higher than allowed. The report also notes that such concentrations could, for some people, cause loss of motor coordination, disorientation, and even blackouts or double vision. Number 3. Chris McCandless. After graduating from Emory University in Georgia, Chris traveled across North America and eventually hitchhiked to Alaska. There, he entered the Alaskan bush with minimal supplies, hoping to live simply off the land. He also had limited knowledge on foraging, some speculate. Chris found an abandoned bus which he used as a shelter until he passed. His body was discovered 5 months after he embarked into the Alaskan wilderness. According to his cryptic journal entries, it appeared he had been dead for 19 days. A driver's license issued 8 months prior indicated that he was 24 and weighed 140 pounds. After his body was flown out of the wilderness, an autopsy determined that he weighed 67 pounds and the most likely cause of death was starvation. It is also debated that he was poisoned by eating certain plants or mushrooms he didn't know were toxic. Either way, really, if you plan on living off the land, at least have the knowledge of how to live off the land. Or, at the bare minimum, know what you can and cannot eat. Or even more bare minimum, know what you can eat and eat only those things. We may never know what truly caused his demise, however we do know that with a little more brains, he would have survived longer at least, but he also wouldn't have won himself a Darwin. Number 2. Veronica Niconava. As if Chris McCandless wasn't bad enough, because of the popularity of the movie Into the Wild, many people have tried to venture out to Chris's bus to see it for themselves. Many people have failed to find it, requiring rescue teams to save them, and even more select few have won a Darwin going out to look for it themselves. Enter Veronica. Her and her husband did find the bus and had spent 2 nights in it. On their journey back, however, the rivers had swelled due to rain. The couple stopped to have a smoke before crossing the rivers. Her husband said, "We were joking it might be the last cigarette of ours. Then I took several selfies of us both on my phone." She then attempted to cross the river, lost her footing, and fell in the river. Her husband managed to grab her and get her to the bank, but by then it was too late. Because so many people have gotten lost and or died, Chris's bus has been removed from the forest to hopefully deter more people from venturing out and winning themselves a Darwin Award. It was so hard choosing just one honorable mention for today's video. There are almost more honorable mentions in Alaska than there are actual Darwin winners. Maybe Alaska should build a casino with how lucky these people are. As if we don't already know the dangers of bears, this man decided to one-up everyone. Lots of people see wild animals and decide to get close as possible for that perfect selfie, so they can talk about it for the rest of their lives. This man didn't just take a selfie with the bears, he got in the water with the bears to take the selfie. The video shows 5 bears fishing in the river, so they are obviously hungry, and he gets right into the water to snap a few selfies. He is seriously lucky the bears didn't see him and decide that the fish weren't enough. I probably don't need to say this, but please don't ever get this close to wild animals, especially bears, just for a selfie. If you want to be that close to a bear in a picture, just use Photoshop. Number 1. Timothy Treadwell. Speaking of getting close to bears, Timothy Treadwell and his girlfriend Amy take the cake. They not only were filming bears up close, but they were living with the bears. They had named all of the bears and believed that with enough respect, the bears would eventually respect them too. Timothy and Amy were due to leave Katmai National Park, but decided to stay a bit longer. This put them there in the fall when the bears are getting ready for hibernation. On October 6, 2003, Willie Fulton, an air taxi pilot, flew to Treadwell's campsite and saw the area abandoned except for a bear. He made a few flyovers to scare off the bear before landing and looking over the site, only to find that Timothy and Amy were only partially at the campsite. The other parts of them, 114 parts, were inside of the bear. A video camera was discovered from the site, and although you can't see what's happening, you can definitely hear the screams from Timothy as he's being eaten, and then Amy attempts to help him before she is eaten as well. Want to learn more? Watch Grizzly Man. It is an interesting watch and shows that Timothy had to have a few screws loose and a few marbles missing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. Want more Darwin Awards now? Watch this video or watch this playlist for non-stop Darwin entertainment.